politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics we support you.
But America,
and love are right.
We are not going back.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 21 of Raised Red Living Blue. I'm Sloane Rhoden, joined by
Jason Will.
When you said I got tased at a Marjorie Taylor Greene town hall, I howled with laughter in the car by myself.
I was hoping so. I was hoping that would be the outcome.
That was so good. It was not true. I was at the farm.
I wish it was true
But
so
damn,
much.
that brought me some joy. That was a good, timely reference. How are you today?
I'm tired. I mean, last week it was so busy, late nights, and it's been kind of a carryover this week. I'm going to try to bring some value today, but
You always bring value. Don't short
I'm
yourself.
coated. My brain, I just feel like fried. But also, I mean, I guess I'm fueled by rage because my 2016 rage is coming back with a vengeance. Like I'm really having to push it down.
Ooh.
I mean, it's just so much stuff. I mean, I flipped on Fox News the other night because I was like,
I can't believe I mean, bless you.
I don't recommend it. I mean, if you want to it's immediate unhinge. It's like a switch.
Yeah.
But I want to see what, Jesse Waters, is that his name?
Yeah.
So this was in the evening. So I was like, man, there's so much going on.
He's such a fucking tool.
I really came face to face with the danger of Fox News. How dare anybody out there, these little trolls on TikTok and Instagram, that trolled me for constantly talking about CNN and how it's, biased. I mean, the bias on Fox News, or maybe it's just Jesse Waters. I mean, he's off his ass, crazy, insane. I just figured, let me switch over.
Just spewing complete farce and opinions and like nothing that's credible or factual. I think it's all just rage inciting.
I'm sure it's heavily entertaining to their viewership and the MAGA base. Because
it's not fun to sit with your truth and have to reflect on things. It's much easier to attack others.
There's so much shit hitting the fan that surely Fox has got to, be taking it down a notch. But so I just flipped over to Jesse, and Jesse was talking about how the libtards are all doom and gloom, and that the Republicans, which, are people on the right, there really is no Republican Party, in my opinion, anymore. Or if I know they're out there, like the regular Republicans are out there, but we're all very powerless against this machine. I feel like at this point it's a little scary. But he was just talking about how the Fox viewership just is going to have to get used to or normalize living with crazy liberals who are just can't settle down and let Trump do his good work. And I'm like, God, how do you go home at night? I mean, surely you hear this all the time, how Republicans in private are very, very concerned and kind of outwardly stonewalled, like, everything's fine, or let's wait and see. It's not that bad yet. So I was just like, this is what they're watching? But I'm sure if you are on the side of Trump, because his approval rating is taking a big dip, but among the base, it's still strong, which is very frightening. How about you?
I feel like anybody who is skeptical of Trump or this new era of Republicanism, MAGAism, like whatever, I feel like they have also shed Fox News. This might be was a great point. I need to kind of start asking, where are you engaging and where are you getting your news? My assumption, because it's like not brought up, my thinking is they're retreating from Fox and from the MAGA right and are probably just like sitting in quiet right now. And like, if you don't know where your views are and you are trying to reckon with that's not what I grew up believing and that's no longer where I have a place. Like I support like finding quiet and like trying to find your due north before just like retreating into maybe another vacuum.
Well, my argument here is that the information is very congruent across all the vast majority of news outlets, from 24-hour news cycles to their websites to Wall Street Journal to, I mean, any publication that anybody respects. So you got the far right media, and then you got everybody else. And the far right and their listeners and their base is really a minority in this country that is taking us down a terrible road. I mean, we're seeing all these things that we've warned the country about coming true. And then you got Fox News saying, God, y'all are such drama queens. Like, literally.
Yeah.
Like, get over yourselves. Stop bitching and whining. You know, this is a process of making America great. So, you know, shut up and be quiet.
Well, and the continuing to tell us, well, this is why you lost. Well, this is why we lost. And I just, that enrages me.
Did you have time to listen to the Patton episode last week?
I didn't finish it, but
Well, he just made a great point, because I was just like, I'm wrestling with this. And he's just like, you know, these people don't care about the consequences of their actions, their vote, because they are just, every day they're giving an opportunity to lift their middle finger up and go, fuck liberals.
Yeah, that is the most bizarre thing in all of this. And when I listened to that part, my immediate thought in my head was, they are cutting off their nose to spite their face. And like, nothing ever good comes from doing that.
It's the fear of, I think, majority of white people, the vast majority of rich people who have just over time seen their privilege kind of slip away. I mean, we could go all the way back, I suppose, to the civil rights movement. I mean, it just kind of started there. That's where the libtard started.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the rich people. I think a lot of wealthy people vote based on what's going to help them financially, and they don't encounter a lot of people unlike them to humanize what their status and their privilege gives them. I think a lot of rich people don't understand the value of civil rights. Now, I think it's these middle-class white people who've been sold a bill of goods that you are like us. I think they're the ones who've been told if a black person gets a spot or gets a job, it's because they were given it because of the color of their skin and not their merit. So I think, depending especially on your income, your socioeconomic status, and your level of education, and we've seen this, if you have Republican voters, the people I know are doing those based on like very different things. I don't see them as bad as like the people who are just like true outright like racists.
Yeah. We brought up several times the Fairhope Library. And that battle's still raging. Like, so Fairhope Library lost their federal funding.
God.
Or state and federal funding, whatever it is. Basically now, because there's 2 books that they won't remove.
From a public library.
Yeah. So I run a Facebook page. I'm still active on it.
Okay.
So I made a post on this Fairhope page that I run, just updating everybody, kind of asking for opinions. And some of the comments on this post were about, you know, good, they should lose their funding for promoting books or media that, you know, are teaching our kids falsehoods about gender ideology. They were making about gender ideology. And I just had to come out of, you know, my closet and say, you dumb son of a bitch. I mean, like, there's no gender ideology being discussed in these books. Did you even read the titles of the books?
Right.
Our support of the Fairhope Library and all the people that are supporting the Fairhope Library, all the people that are coming out offering to supplement the funding that was lost or cut. Bravo, we're with you guys in this fight. And to hell with all of you that don't recognize the fact that women, I really feel like this is true, that women are either fall into 2 categories, servants or prey. Okay. So this white men establishment, far right men establishment, and that's what they're like. Women are here to have babies, cook, clean, satisfy their partners, or they are looked at as prey by the multitude of predators that are out there. So wouldn't we want to, with teen girls, go, hey, I try to do this with my daughter all the time. Like, look, you need to watch your back. You don't need to go off with a boy alone that you don't know.
I can't remember what my dad always says, but Kenny says something like, it's either like men are trash or like men are garbage or men are, I mean, Dad's like, we're terrible.
Anywhere you go, I watch this, okay? I will watch men stare at women.
Do you know the song Labor that is like going viral? It is exactly what you are fucking saying.
All day, every day, therapist, mother, maid, nymph, then a virgin, nurse, then a servant, just an appendage, live to attend him so that he never lifts a finger. 24/7 baby machine, so he can live out his picket fence dreams. It's not an act of love if you make her, you make me do too much labor. Look days in your eyes, a blood stain, if I love her, I understand it's just been just an appendage, live to attend him, sure that he never a whole lot of labor. 24/7 baby machine, so he can live out and his picket fence dreams. It's not a size of loss, I can shake her, you make me do too much labor.
And this is like why this song has just gone so viral, is like, this is what we're feeling. I mean, this is exactly what you just described. You know, servant, property, or prey.
Well, I've been feeling, I haven't seen a ton of episodes, but I've seen enough episodes of The Handmaid's Tale to go, shit, this is really getting too real. Too real. I'm just really disappointed with these Republican lawmakers. I mean, the Sunday political shows, I'm talking, man, I just unbelievable. Unbelievable. But I would just tell this, anybody else is dealing with some stress, and like Sloane was talking about, you know, finding a quiet place. Nature keeps me sane. There is a healing, therapeutic power of nature, and hopefully you live in a place. We're blessed to live in a place where you can get out and walk in a beautiful trail and then, you know, hike, and we've got a lot of different avenues to get out there and just be with nature. I know that may sound a little corny or hokey, but it really works. I'm sure you feel that when you're at the farm.
Yeah. Last week, when we go to the farm, and especially this time around, it was like spring. Like we got down there and like everything was blooming and popping off. And so it was, you know, cutting grass and planting vegetables and doing all these things. And it's like so wonderful because at the end of the day, like you're so tired. And it's not just like that mental fatigue that like we have here, but like that physical, like I didn't have a single day where I walked less than 10,000 steps. Like it's that true, like you did something. And with that, I was just fully there and fully present. And when you texted, I was like, I have not been, you know, engaging in that other side. But also when we're down there, it is like, we have so many things to do that it's hard to, you know, kind of balance other things. It's like, okay, what's the absolute work that has to get done? And then what's, you know, of day job? And then like, what's the absolute work of farm stuff that we have to do? But I mean, we come home tired, but definitely feel a sense of like grounding, but like also pride and also like personal accomplishment that I feel like sometimes like we don't always have in our job. Like nothing's ever fully tied up at the end of the day, which is why I like cooking and gardening, because then it's like something that I can create and be like, I did this start to finish. And if like nothing else went right today, I was able to create something that makes my life better.
Yeah. I really feel like there is, like, the farm kind of represents something that y'all are doing that's kind of bigger than y'all. Like, you know, in the memory of her parents, and just keeping the farm alive and, you know, beautiful, and keeping it, you know, just keeping it preserved. is powerful. But there's a lot of science around just movement and what that does for your stress and the changing of your mood and, releasing toxicity from your body and all these things. So,
Well, there's all these jokes that are like, I'm like a plant, or like, treat yourself like a plant, get sunshine and plenty of water. But it's so true. Drink lots of water and sit in the sunshine.
Yeah, and I just hear, I'm in the back of my mind, the thoughts are rolling through my head about what, like if we had a MAGA sitting over there on the couch and he'd just be like, y'all just like,
but not if
stop your whining and your,
but like not if it was Maha.
your sissy.
They'd probably be like, oh, Mother Earth too. And I'm like, no, that's our Mother Earth.
Well, we
don't take her away from us.
We touched on this on the podcast last week because I was talking about the contradiction of the Maha movement with all the destruction they're doing to our planet.
Right.
In terms of rolling back all these policies, all the work that Al Gore, John Kerry, all these people have done. Mm-hmm. RFK saying it's the environment that's making us sick. It's the air that's making us sick. But drill, baby, drill. I know it's hard. And
the rage is real.
Starting to feel it?
Yes.
Well, it's like the fossil fuel industry.
It's fucking lobbyists. It's fucking corporate lobbyists.
I listened to a very disturbing linking podcast this week where they were talking about the fossil fuel industry is really behind or had a big role to play in Project 2025 and just how everything is pieced together and who all these players are behind the scenes and how long they've been working on this. And it is
really
frightening.
Everything that is coming out is fucking Project 2025.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's been a single policy that's been proposed or talked about that does not have a direct link to Project 2025.
Well, I'm going to I want to call out some people.
Okay.
And I don't know when that's going to be appropriate for me to do so, but right now I just have the urge to call out Ivanka Trump. I mean, I feel like I've always looked at her.
Okay.
How do women look at her? Do they see her as do they see her as a feminist? I mean, she seems like she has that aura of a strong woman, but like, shame on you. Shame on you. We were talking about, Jason, I think mentioned this too. We were like,
I honestly don't give her any thoughts.
Where has she been? Like, where has she been? But her husband is an architect of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
There's just a lot of people surrounding Trump right now that are, they're the architects behind this. I mean, he's the mouthpiece.
Yep.
They're doing all the planning.
What's his name?
Stuff.
Russell Voigt.
Yeah.
It's
the Koch brothers, Peter Navarro.
But I think Stephanie Rule said that this week, I can't remember his name, but has written a book called Project, and he's, going on the talk shows right now talking about it. And Stephanie Rule's point was, we're saying that Elon Musk is the shadow president, but really it's Russell Voigt, who was the architect of Project 2025 and is, the guy back there, the wizard behind the curtain. It's like the most powerful people in Washington isn't the president. It's these people behind the scenes that are making all these things happen that we as like regular civilians don't typically know about.
There was also a theory in our episode from last week about Trump being just a pawn, a puppet of these people behind the scenes, that this is why they back him. Like, you wonder, like, this is such a flawed person, a flawed candidate, a flawed president, flawed leader. Why do they continue to back him? And it's because of two things, I think. He has been able to gain the fierce, blind loyalty of his followers, and they can control him.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And he wants to stay out of jail, so he'll probably do most everything that they want him to do.
Yeah, and
when somebody's backed into a corner and has like no other options, that's the scariest person. So he is going to do everything in his capacity to stay out of jail.
There was a congressman on CNN last night. His name escapes me, but he was talking about, super smart guy, Democrat, obviously, was talking about, I think, the bigger picture here of what we have to really be concerned about. And it was, what about this? Or what about that? Yeah, something about, what about this? So when we bring up something as crazy as Donald Trump inviting like are having this private dinner. Did you see this? A private dinner. The first like 200 mega donors or buyers of his meme coin
Okay.
get a private dinner at the White House or something.
Okay.
And so they brought this up on this political panel last night on this talk show on CNN, and the congressman is posturing and saying, like, you know, we're this is an important talking point that we need to try to address this as a panel without diverting to,
oh, that whataboutism.
what about Biden? Well, what about Hunter Biden? What about this?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
Biden took this or Biden took that? Biden profited off the White House. And it was just like, come on, guys. I mean, none of this concerns you.
Yeah.
Like, none. There's not a Republican strategist who's going, that I've really seen that's going, what the hell is going on, guys?
Yeah.
There's so much to be concerned, deeply, deeply concerned about. There was a poll, okay, of the right.
Okay.
They were polling the people on the right about their views authoritarianism, and there was a favorable opinion of it. So how can that be? And that is, I think, you know, it is
Lack of education.
100%
Propaganda.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear that, you know, I'm going to be turned gay, or fear that somebody black or brown is going to take my job. It's scary, but it's disgraceful. You know, I don't know, I feel like I'm all over the place today, but there's just so much going on. Like, do we want to talk about, and I saw your talking points. Do you want to talk about the Supreme Court in El Salvador after the break?
No, those were, okay. So last night when I was like trying to get my thoughts in order, it was like, okay, what's everything that I've like kind of heard about? And I kind of had to do like a little bit of a mind dump, and then all my stuff's below it.
Okay.
So after the break, I'm going to talk about this new proposal to incentivize women to have more babies in this pro-natalism movement.
Oh, good.
Which goes into servant property prey. So I feel like you really teed me up.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's go for it. I think the biggest griper of my ass this week is the Supreme Court and this issue with Mr. Garcia in El Salvador. The way that the right has spun this, the way that the right has used grief of people that have been murdered or assaulted by illegal immigrants as part of their propaganda campaign. You know, the fact that Republicans can't or won't stand up when asked about Trump deporting American citizens to El Salvador in prison.
Well, that doesn't matter because they're brown people. If you continue to get rid of the brown people, whether they are citizens or not, it goes into their bigger plan of fucking eugenics.
Right. So
I am dropping some fucks today.
I have a problem like making sense of this, but the right has been saying, look, lefties, are y'all really going to die on this hill with this El Salvadorian terrorist gang member, wife beater? And I'm going, on my end going, that's not the fucking point. The point is they're disregarding a Supreme Court order. Like, nobody should be okay with that.
And yes, disregarding.
It's a unanimous decision.
Yes, a Supreme Court ruling on top of setting a precedent that we will no longer conduct due process. You know, I see these comments online that are like, well, you're here illegally and you committed a crime, so you don't deserve due process. And I said, I got 2 words for you, motherfucker. Amanda Knox.
Yeah.
Held in an Italian prison.
Right.
Like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah. So I want to just slam Representative Tom Emer, the Republican Majority Whip, who was on Face the Nation this past Sunday when asked by Dana Bash about, you know, Trump's comments about deporting legal Americans. Yeah. And there's been no distinction made about what color these people are. You know, of course, the first to go are the black and browns, black, brown, gay, trans.
It's that.
All these people need to go.
It's that Hitler playbook. It's that Hitler playbook.
Well, which also is your medal. I've got something really funny I want to talk about. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I really feel like humor is very important. Like, we need to be seeking out humor. I hope that
nature and humor.
I hope the Star Dome here in Birmingham, like, their ticket sales are way up, because we need to be trying to infuse humor into this. But Joe Emer was asked by Dana Bash about the legal Americans, like actual American citizens. And he wouldn't comment on it.
I want to ask you about another idea that President Trump is floating. He's done so repeatedly, and that's the idea of deporting U.S. citizens convicted of violent crimes to El Salvador. You're not only a lawmaker, you are an attorney. Do you think the federal government has any legal authority to do that with American citizens?
I think right now what he's doing is absolutely legal, which is removing those that do not have legal status in this country that have proven to be the worst of the worst. This is what he promised Americans he would do. And you talk about me listening to the senator literally doesn't do anything for his constituent who is murdered mercilessly by an illegal alien let in under the Biden administration's open border policy. But boy, when an illegal alien gets deported to his country of origin, he flies right down to represent him. It seems to me that these Democrats are representing the illegal aliens against the very constituents, the U.S. citizens, that they're supposed to be protecting.
What about the idea that the White House says that it is looking into whether or not U.S. citizens who are convicted of violent crimes can be imprisoned in El Salvador?
Well, again, what they're focused on and what you and I are focusing on is what's actually happening, which is deporting terrorists, cartel members, rapists, murderers. The worst of the worst is exactly what Donald Trump promised during the campaign, and that's why 77 million people, Dana, elected him to follow through on this promise, and that's what they're doing.
Okay. I just want to give you one more chance to say whether or not you're okay with U.S. citizens, the idea of it. I know it's not happening, but he has actively said more than once that they are looking into it. Would you be okay with that?
I'm like, holy shit. But the point I want to make is that make sure everybody understands is that, you know, there's all this deflection about what the left is trying to actually promote here. And yes, there is an individual at the center of it, but the overarching issue here is that the judicial branch, our checks and balancing system, our whole identity, our whole structure, our makeup, our DNA as a democracy.
Yeah, the creation of our country.
I mean, people around the world are going, the America we've known and trusted for decades, for centuries, half centuries, whatever, is gone, no longer exists.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's showing in our tourism numbers. Like, there's a decline in vehicle crossings at the Canadian border, and the flights coming in from Canada, I mean, they're down it's something outrageous. Like, I think Scott Galloway said it this week. I think like 70%. And like, what, tourism's 9% of our GDP. I mean, like, that's a hit. And we're just like throwing up middle fingers to everybody and saying, we don't need you. And the rest of the world is saying, like, okay, fine, you fail on your own. And that doesn't feel good.
No, I think there's going to be way more Amanda Knoxes out there. There's, you know, our people abroad are, you're in danger. All these, they're so, I mean, I wish we had a whiteboard. There'd be a list of 100,000 things on there, but they're closing all the American embassies in Africa. Where do our people go?
If they're in,
where our missionaries go when they're in trouble?
Pro-natalist movement is so interesting. I don't know what the larger name is, because like there's people that are like, you know, pro getting birth rates up, and some are this like pro-natalist and some are others. But it seems this pro-natalist movement is like very, very supportive and in like enriching of IVF and like wanting to make IVF free. And it's like, okay, well, that sounds great, but like we can't get universal healthcare. And some of these ideas that they are putting out, like well, we need to find the cause of women's infertility. And it's like, okay, but then you need a better healthcare system. And are those like tests and visits to specialists going to be covered by health insurance, or are those going to be out of pocket like they are right now? Then it's only wealthy people that are able to do these testings and have children. But there's another, like, there's these factions that are kind of forming within this larger, like, get the birth rate up movement. And some are the anti-abortion ones who are very, very against IVF because they're like, oh, you might be destroying an embryo. So I kind of love seeing their infighting. It's like, I've heard so many times, like, everybody sees our infighting, but we don't see theirs. And I'm like, or do we see it more because we're in it? And I'm like, oh, I can like now see some of their infighting. It's weird. There's this stat, and I want to say it's in New York Times. The countries that have that the birth rates are falling the fastest are ones where like technology and like economies have grown faster, but are still very patriarchal. Mm-hmm. So like women don't have as many rights or as viewed or as equally. And a lot of this divide comes from women wanting to work outside of the home, but still the pressure from their partner. The husband is like, okay, well, you go out and work, but you still have to shoulder the responsibilities of the home and the childbearing. Women are like, no, it goes back to that song. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not, more women would be having children if there was an equal playing field of roles and like who's going to take on what within the family. And these points that the Trump administration put out, it seems very much like we polled a bunch of men that's like, what do you think we should do to help women? And like none of this is for the root cause of like why young people, why women are choosing not to have children. There's this great Instagram post I saw, and it's like what the proposal is, and then this creator marked out what was wrong. And this like $5,000 cash baby bonus, like that doesn't cover the medical expenses, just like from the hospital stay. I mean, it's costing women $20,000 and $30,000 like to just have a kid, on top of all of the additional expenses that having a kid, you know, that like couples take on. And this said, make $5,000, $150,000. This National Medal of Motherhood, like fuck that.
Isn't that insulting?
It says a year of paid leave per child. I mean, sounds good to me. Government-funded educational programs on menstrual cycles. That's kind of like what sex education is supposed to be, yet they don't want us to talk about sex education in school. This is for every man in the country, during which they use those machines that allow men to feel the pain of menstrual cramps.
Oh, yeah.
It is like hard for me to wrap my head around a lot of this. You know, one woman that was quoted in the New York Times, her name is Emma Waters. She's a policy analyst at the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank that led Project 2025. You know, our ultimate goal is not just more babies, but more families formed. It just goes back to we want the world to look this very specific way. We want it to be white. We want it to be heterosexual, and we want to go back to the days where there's a white picket fence and 2.5 children and a golden retriever. Any thoughts on what I've shared so far? Man, I've got so many notes in here.
Yes, I've got a big thought, and that is, this is absolutely freaking ridiculous. The right wants women to have a bunch of babies, but they could give a shit less what happens after that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes. Yes.
Because there is no, daycare.
People are paying more for one child to go to daycare than like their mortgage payment. Especially 2 children is more than a mortgage payment for people.
Yeah. And this is my whole issue with the anti-abortion movement. I mean, there would probably be less abortions. This is from Kara Swisher, if there were more options for mothers in terms of support, education, childcare, just all of the above. We're not talking about sex in school. So I think that leads to a demonization of the act. If I'm a young woman, I get pregnant in high school, I'm obviously a whore. Mm-hmm. And there's the shame around it. So let's just get rid of this dirty little secret.
Right. And if you don't talk about sex or provide education around contraception, and kids, whether you talk about it or not, and whether there's the internet or not, like, kids are going to figure out what to do. And like, if you don't teach them how to protect themselves, like, that is also a cause of teen pregnancy.
Okay. So let's get this out in the open real quick, because I think this is a great point that you've raised. And it was also a talking point that was mentioned by one of the folks that replied to my post on that Fair Hope Facebook page. Mm-hmm. They were like, listen, y'all, I understand, I'm trying to relate to where y'all are coming from with this book banning, but have you been on TikTok? Have you been on YouTube? Because your algorithm is it's like a feminist feed, but it's very easy to get on. I mean, there is just straight up porn on TikTok.
Interesting.
You
also can't like look at it in the state of Alabama anymore.
Right. Well, the stuff that's we don't need it. So if I want to see a woman's breast or vagina, I can go to Instagram or TikTok or Facebook right now and see it. Especially X. There is porn all over X.
What?
Yes.
Not just OnlyFans?
There's so much stuff on social media that I think is mental, and there's so much research around how much harm this content is doing to our young people. But yet, let's ban a book that might educate women on what the world is really like out there, that it is a dangerous place. They should be on minding their P's and Q's. So they should be self-aware, or they should be studying a room, especially if they stop at a rest area or they're in a mall. They should be on alert that somebody is watching them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody is trying to decide if this is their moment of opportunity or not. Yeah. Oh. BuzzFeed is doing some great work out there right now, putting out hilarious things that people are saying about, how they were gaslit to vote for Trump, how they are, really second guessing their vote. But what Canadians are saying, like the top things that fill them with pride or make them grateful they don't live in America. Mm-hmm. And one of them is gun violence. It's like, oh, we love to be able to go to school and not have to worry about getting shot. We've got some real problems. And, now we're bringing back coal. Yep. And, we're putting women back in their place.
Putting them back in the kitchen.
Yeah, this is great.
Jesus. Okay, back to pro-natalism. God, man. Let me take a sharp left turn. This is a quote from one of the New York Times articles. The coalition of people who want to see more babies is broad and diverse. I mentioned that, a little previously. There's different people with different sides. They are unified in their concerns about the U.S. birth rate, which has been falling since 2007. Which is interesting because right after that we went into a recession. So like, why would you have kids when you are making no money? I don't know if correlation is causation, but that's a tip for you. Warning of a future in which a smaller workforce cannot support an aging population and the social safety net. My stepmom has said this for years. It is because they need people. They need worker bees. They need more people contributing to prop up the economy for all of these aging boomers that, one, there's so fucking many of them, and they won't fucking die. And if the birth rate is not turned around, they fear the country's economy could collapse and ultimately human civilization could be at risk. I don't know. That seems a little like hyperbole. Like that seems like really dramatic. And my Sloane hot take is, well, human civilization is already at risk with climate change. There are so many people that are like, a world is being created for billionaires and oligarchs. Why would we want to bring kids into the world that don't have the same opportunities that we would have? And arguably, my generation doesn't have the same opportunities my parents had. So like it's becoming harder and the opportunities are fewer. So one, why would we want to bring kids into this societal structure? But also, the world is fucking burning. Y'all want to increase the population, but we already like are destroying our earth. Like you don't want to, you want to fix one problem. You want to fix a symptom, but not a cause.
Right. Excellent point.
Also, this feels like a way to reinforce gender roles and keep women at home and taking care of children, but also to prop up the economy of the billionaires. That's Sloane's hot take. So it's like, if these women are having 4 or 5 and let's say 6 children so they could get a medal of motherhood, it seems like a real clear way to like keep them in the kitchen. And that feels icky to me.
For sure. I mean, this is what, you know, it trickles all the way down to the punter or the kicker. I don't know, he kicks the ball for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buckner guy. I mean, that's basically his thought. I mean, it's like, you know, women are these beautiful, fragile creatures, you know, should be honored for their role in society, which is
so
cook,
like,
clean, fuck.
Pay us fucking equally.
Yeah.
Pay us the same as a man.
Well, that's what, you know, that's what, I don't know if Jessica and Scott were making this point on Raging Moderates, but Kara and Scott were on Pivot just talking about, let's raise the minimum wage. Let's get free daycare. Let's, you know, that's what's incentivizing, what really incentivizes people to have babies.
Yes. Well, also these anti-abortion laws, like that is keeping people from having children right now.
Yeah.
The last point I want to make on this is so many of this goes back to the great replacement theory, which I kind of was getting into and it kind of creeped me out and filled me with anxiety and rage. This is a quote from The Guardian. So these theories, so the great replacement theory, were popularized by the 1916 book, The Passing of the Great Race, written by Madison Grant, a lawyer, eugenicist, and conservationist from New York. Quote, Grant argues that you can think of white people as an endangered species. Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
For him, by preventing non-white people from entering the protected area of America, you can preserve this great race that he identifies, which is Northern Europeans. So, eugenicist, race, I'm going to call it racism, imperialism, colonialism, all of the isms I hate.
Protectionism.
What aboutism? No, not that one. I'm seeing these like threads of control and white supremacy and white nationalism and gender roles. And, you know, we could keep America's population high if we made immigration easier, but that is for more brown people than white people. So that is bad. And it's just this, to me, it goes back to this like fear of the other, and it just, it's heartbreaking. Yeah, the whole thing is fucking scary. That's my thoughts.
Let me bring up something.
Which I don't have in my notes, but I think is from this same point, same article in The Guardian. This was an idea held by Adolf Hitler.
Well, there's some people smarter than me that are saying or making this point that leaders can't rise or emerge from the ashes unless there is a massive wildfire, unless there is, like you mentioned, the world being on fire.
Yeah.
Our country's on fire. We can take some solace.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
In the fact that, you know, that's where these great people in history have emerged, is from the ashes. And if there is no fire, there is no ashes. So, like, out of this crisis, we're going to see great reform. We're going to see amazing leaders rise up. It's really hard for people like me to be patient and to take comfort in that when you see just how fast this is moving, how detrimental it will be. I mean, there's some things that are being done that are going to be very hard to undo. All right, so Tim Scott, fuck you. Was that too harsh?
I loved it. Okay,
So-
when you say these people, tell me what their position is and who they represent.
All right, so Tim Scott, who was one of Trump's biggest supporters.
Okay.
He got some position, I don't know if it's a cabinet position, but he didn't get, I feel like he got passed over by Trump. And there has been some black people on TikTok making fun of people like Tim Scott because you just got totally used and abused. But listen to this.
The gays are doing that about Caitlyn Jenner too.
How is she even allowed at Mar? I mean, that person. Fuck you, Caitlyn Jenner.
Fuck you, Caitlyn Jenner.
You are such a disgrace. How are you even allowed to be at Mar-a-Lago, and how the trans community hasn't disappeared you is beyond me.
Which bathroom do you use?
Yeah, I mean, you are gross and disgusting.
But again, she was a, well-off white man for many, many years of her life. So she just like has that
swagger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the fuck ever. So, fuck.
Yeah, you're gross. You're. All right. So for years, Tim Scott has prioritized efforts to expand access to capital and economic mobility to support underserved communities and minority small business owners.
Okay.
Okay. So he's been a champion of the minority small business owner for years. For the majority of his political life, that has been his crusade.
Which is important because of redlining. Black communities and minority communities didn't have access to purchasing in higher valued areas. And so when their homes didn't appreciate at the same rate that white neighborhoods did, and they didn't have that generational wealth to then pass on to their generations, to their family after them. So these people like Tim Scott and others that have like come in to provide assistance for these communities that have been harmed by governments and policies is important, which is, why we should know history and Black history and what comes of it. Continue.
Yeah,
sorry, my little side note.
Well, which is probably one of the reasons why they're whitewashing Black history. Well, the headline reads, Scott stays silent as his minority business legacy crumbles under Trump. Shame on you. Shame on you. Let's see. Who should I go to next? Fuck you, Pete Hegseth.
Did you see that he has Signal downloaded on his government computer?
It's outrageous.
It feels like he's like using it like AIM.
I don't even understand it. I don't even understand.
To me, it shows.
How does he process this in his own mind?
Well, to me, it shows I don't care about the rules. I'm better. I can do whatever I want. I don't have any, say or any respect for the position or authority or protocol, which like to a certain extent, like can be good in roles, but like not in this one. Like not when like people's lives are at stake. Not when it's like government top secret information. Like there's a time where like protocols are like to be followed. I'd say this is one of them.
I mean, if Obama even scratched the surface of a little bit of this stuff, I mean, he would be hung by his neck until he is dead in the public square for everybody to see, and it would be on pay-per-view. And then Trump would get all these corporate sponsors to pay for it. It's outrageous. I want to go back to Jesse Waters and just say, fuck you, Jesse Waters, because he was on TV on Fox News primetime talking about how nothing to worry about, no need to panic. And he referenced a CEO of like ExxonMobil or something that came out and said, we are not even anywhere close to a recession. Everybody stop fucking panicking. So let's tie this into my comments around the state of Florida, the fossil fuel industry, the Koch brothers, the formation of Project 2025. For your information, people.
Honorable mention to Citizens United.
The fossil fuel industry is exempt from tariffs. So they ain't got nothing to worry about. maybe some of my advice is try to connect some of these dots. And if you don't care about connecting the dots, you're going to. At some point, you're going to, and it's going to be too late. I wanted to come up with this, and I'm going to do it. It's a homework assignment that I really wanted to complete in time for this episode, but didn't get around to it. But I believe it's something that Scott Galloway was talking about. It's in relation to this author who was saying, basically, when they came for this group, I stayed silent. When they came from this group, I stayed silent because I wasn't a part of this group.
Is this going to be you?
What is that? Yeah, we need that. This needs to be a war room. I need whiteboards. I need stuff to pin articles on.
It's that poem that I read when Kosako was here.
Yeah, what is that? Can you find that real quick? Because I wanted to create my own, more modern version of that. Because first they came for women's reproductive rights, but I said nothing because I'm not a woman. Then they came for our immigrants, and I said nothing because I'm not an immigrant. I want to finish this out because this is where we are headed.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay. First they came, by Pastor Martin.
Pastor Martin.
First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Scary. All right, so that's a great segue into this, because I'm basically just going to say, fuck you to all Republican voters.
We've gone from a grind my ass segment to a fuck you segment.
Listen to this, okay? 23% of Republican voters said that the president should defy court orders he disagrees with. 28% of Republican voters said that the president should withhold funding from universities he disagrees with. 26% of Republican voters said the president should control national museums and theaters. Among those who identify themselves as Trump supporters, his favorability numbers are above 50%. They see him as a strong man. They see him doing a favorable job with the government, which the rest of us see it as chaos, corruption, a rise in cost, constitutional crisis, corruption. This is all we're seeing. I can't leave this turd out because we did not talk about Ukraine this entire episode. I've got 5 minutes.
I know. It's hard to...
Fuck you, Marco Rubio.
Shame.
Shame. But I'm talking generational shame. You should be, I want to deport your ass.
Go back to Cuba?
Somewhere. Maybe El Salvador. Why don't you go test it out and see how it is?
You go to the gulag. Have fun with that.
The American stance, or lack thereof, in support of Ukraine, the job he's doing, the job Hegseth is doing, the job that these Treasury secretaries and the Commerce Secretary are doing.
Cuban American.
The job that RFK's doing.
Yeah.
Besides the food dye thing, is absolutely insane. And I'm just telling y'all, we're going to reach a point where you're going to identify with Pastor Martin.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm just hoping it's not too little, too late.
Well, and they love to spout the Constitution and be a constitutionalist.
The Trump Bibles have the Constitution on one cover and the Bill of Rights on the other. How are those documents? Those Bibles are going to be worthless.
Well, and they say we have cognitive dissonance. We didn't talk at all about Trump's attack on public enemy number one, Jerome Powell. Also, fuck that guy. I don't like Jerome Powell. I would love for him to not be the Fed chair anymore, but I don't believe in presidential overreach, because the point of the Federal Reserve is to be an entity that is protected from political biases, because it'd be really easy for a president to be lower rates while I'm in there, so it looks like the economy surges. But then Trump backed off and stocks surged. So it's like Trump attacks somebody, stocks tank. He rolls it back, stocks surge. There's going to be insider trading. You can't tell me there's not. None of these fuckers can keep their fucking mouth shut for anything. They're doing defense bullshit on a signal chat. You can't tell me that they're not calling up buddies to make trades. And Martha went away.
Oh my God. I really feel like it's a strategy to make the rich richer. I mean, he was bragging about it in the Oval Office. Oh, you made $29 billion today, and it was just it's disgusting. I'm just telling you, like where have we come? We have heard about this. I think maybe this is a good closing argument.
Okay.
Is that you'll see this kind of taking shape in some of my talking points, my very angry, unhinged talking points, because I'm going to start, just really doubling down on the radical right. But we've heard for years about how the policies on the left are going to destroy America. We're not going to have a country anymore, Trump says. What did we see? What was the result of 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Biden? We certainly didn't see all these C words coming out: constitutional crisis, chaos. I mean, all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of Americans support a higher minimum wage. They support universal health care. The majority...
They support abortion access.
They support abortion. So the policies of America are not reflecting the majority. They're reflecting what is emerging as the new minority that is very, very scary. The white man movement here, which is...
Oh, God, and this Gen Z.
I don't know. You say, like, we didn't talk about Jerome Powell. I mean, who has time to talk about all of these issues that are really relevant?
I know. Yeah.
But I feel like the Republicans are the radicals.
Like that radical right. I mean, they are the radical right.
I mean, there is a really popular Facebook group or page out there called Democrat Communists, and they just all these memes making fun of people on the left. The rest of the world sees America as taking a radical turn. Yeah. And that's under Trump. Yeah. They didn't. The world we live in a global economy, a global community. Yeah. And we are, we're going to be on the terrorist watch list pretty soon as a country.
And Trump and this administration and the radical right positioning us that we are the best and we are, which is exactly what they do. And they're like centering themselves in the narrative when like we are not the number one exporter of China. So like it doesn't matter to them if like we have 145% tariffs. The EU is the EU is either number one or number two.
It's two.
Highest
I think
exporter.
the Asian...
ASEAN.
Yeah.
ASEAN is number one exporter. The EU is number two. So just like thinking like we're the best, that viewpoint isn't good, one, in your individual life, and it's like not good as a country.
It doesn't make common sense. I mean, you should be able to. Why can we look at this data and go, hey, it doesn't make sense to get in a trade war where we're number three?
And I do want to say the woman who owns Busy Baby. I mean, I think she has been really the biggest small business story around these tariffs and how it affects everybody. She has I think it's like a 20-minute interview with New York Times The Daily. It is so good. And she walks through the steps of, I tried to produce this in the United States. This is why I can't. This is why I chose China. If I were to change that and bring it over here are the hurdles that I would encounter. And really at the very end, she says it would cost more money to move all of my production here than to just pay the 145% tariff. So the argument of doing the tariff, one, I believe is wrong, but like it's not even real. So if you want to understand like why businesses make the decisions to choose China as their place of production, it is so interesting and eye-opening and educational. So just I would, do you want to know more about like tariffs and why people and small businesses are making these decisions? Go listen to that NYT The Daily podcast.
And I would just say this, do some research on the fact that America's superpower is not manufacturing. It is not, assembly line workers. It is not, bringing back the coal industry. Our superpower is technology and innovation. We lead the world in technology and innovation.
Well, I would say we don't.
China.
I was listening to the Ezra Klein show yesterday, and it's all saying like why China is beating us in this innovation game. That one's a deep one, but it is. China has its faults, yes.
Yeah.
But what it does for innovation and technology and the barriers to entry for new businesses are so low. So a ton of people flood the market, or China says, we want to be the number one producer of solar panels. So all of these companies flood the market. There's public-private partnerships. The government hands out grants and loans to these companies to get started. Then because there is so much competition, there's a self-weeding. And 4 or 5 rise to the top. And, you know, some probably like buy this one and buy this one. And the question was, yeah, but like, does China lose money on it? And it's like, yes, at the beginning, but they foster so much innovation to get these very few, this cream to rise to the top. Then now they are the number one innovator in the world. And then they make the money on the back end. We, as American societies, we expect you to be perfect as soon as you enter the marketplace, whereas China has a different viewpoint. It's really fascinating. It's a kind of a heavy one to listen to.
And the policies of the Trump administration are setting us further and further back, making us less and less competitive to China. So now they've got the innovation, the technology, and the manufacturing, and they're developing some really scary weapons.
Well, and I said this several months ago, like, okay, look, if we wanted to go to clean energy and EVs and all of these things, then we need public-private partnerships, and that was part of like what Obama did and Biden did, and those are rolling back. But like, why are we holding on to coal and combustible engines when the future is, well, those lobbies, yes, but like we could be the China and innovate and put this out and then license them, and then we become one of the major competitors of it's
really frustrating, but you got to go. It's 11:06 and you said 11:05 was a hard stop. Bye, everybody.
Oh, okay, guys. Man, I'm like I'm so tired now. Okay, well, guys, thank you for joining us for another week. Oh my God, episode 21. I'm so excited to be here. For those of y'all who have commented or engaged with us on social media, we just appreciate it so much. Thank you for your support. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok for social media, and full episodes are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to watch us, those are on YouTube. Y'all have a great week. Stay sane, get outside, drink water, get some sunlight, and keep up the fight.
Politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics of
But America,
and love are right.
we are not going back.